everyone, here for Tag Tuesday, and tag 34 is a teacup. Now I was watching Anne and I was thinking, what will I do? And all of a sudden I just started mucking around and playing. So I've got my tag, and then I was thinking I might cut a bit of material in the same shape of the tag, and when I went through my little set I couldn't find this shape, but I found a smaller one and I thought I'll play with that. Why not? Let's have a play with that. Then I thought I would try it on material to see what happened, but I'm aware that if you put things through, if you try to put material through on its own, it's not gonna work necessarily. So I was thinking putting it in between some paper. I want to get the tag to get a bit of that text, just simply because I can use it again for something else. So let's check where the text is. All right. Oh, the table wobble and the crinkle. Alright, so I'd already tried one, got this little one, and I was actually also enjoying the fact that I've got a shape of a tag, so I've got that negative. Oh, banging around. Okay, stop banging around and get on with it. Alright, so there's my tag. Here's a bit of gold in a little tag. Here's the page, put that aside for later, put the other one aside for later, and I've got this one too. Now wouldn't it be fun if I actually had a teacup embossing, but I don't, that's alright. So my question is, what am I doing? I've got two tags, two opposite bits of material, but no teacup. I've got lots of bits of paper here because I've been coffee dyeing and, well actually I haven't done these ones will be coffee dyed. What I've been doing is, first off I did some avocado dye, and then I did some, has anyone seen purple broccoli? So I did purple broccoli dye, and then I've done a whole heap of stamping to coffee dye, and I've got some of these little Chinese pages as well. So, alright, I'm just getting distracted. There's my mat. Let's put this down. Okay, what are we doing? So one thing I had a thought about was a window with a tiny little teacup in it. I think one of these flowers might look nice as if they're on a teacup, perhaps. So just cut some out. So I'm sort of auditioning still here with these. That could easily be a teacup. That could be a teacup. I think I like that one better. And that's a little teacup, but I still like the idea of it being a window in a window in a window kind of thing. So how do I do that? That's a very good question. You things we make up on the spot. What if I have a window shape? Try and square that up a bit. No, there's a line there. A window shape behind the tag. So when this is sewn down, it gives a bit of padding. Right. Window, padded window. Then our little teacup in the window. Now I didn't want to do, I've been doing a lot of research about Japanese textiles and the indigo dyes and the boro and the boro, and a few different things. The old Japanese textiles would be passed down from family to family, so I've been thinking a lot about overlaying and overlapping and how the family history of the threads, stuff like that. So the point I'm making, what point am I making when I'm talking about that and waffling on? The point I'm making is that I love the little, what do you call them, the little saké cups that don't have a handle. Right, I've got my point across finally. Okay, so I'm making a golden window. I think do back stitch. So while I'm stitching, as I usually try to keep everyone up to date, I think I'll take that off for now, about what's happening in Melbourne here. So I don't know, I don't think it was happening last week. So our lockdown is extended till the 2nd of September, but we're also on a curfew now, so we're not allowed out at night between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. So we're house arrest, really. Well, not really. I do go up the shop to get some food. But yeah, that's how it is at the moment. So, you know, numbers are still going up. Regional went into lockdown, came out of lockdown, and is now today gone back into lockdown. And even though people are getting vaccinated, and even though sometimes you think, well, maybe lockdown's good to get the numbers under control, there was still a big massive protest in the city today, and so that's what's going on with that stuff, and it's getting a bit tedious, really. Well, tedious in a couple of ways. Of course, I can go and visit Lily because she nominated me as her bubble person, but the flatmate is just not dealing with visitors, so she's had a meltdown basically. So you know, that's how it is over here. So her meltdown, it means I have to be a little bit conscious of not having people over, so the boyfriend's not coming over, even though he was coming over this weekend. We were going to watch the end of the Melbourne Film Festival tonight, so I'm recording this on a Saturday. At 7 p.m. I can watch the final you know, the final movie. But because she's had a meltdown, he's not coming over. So I'm feeling a little bit like the life I'd like to be leading isn't happening at the moment. I guess we'll work it out in due course, if we can. But yeah, it's not, you know, when you've had severe lockdown and you can finally, you know, see your children and they're close by, but your flatmate is basically jamming up about you seeing anybody, including a boyfriend, it's not making me very happy, to be honest. I feel a little bit controlled, like I'm the, you know, like I'm the child being put into lockdown, double lockdown. So yes, anyway, words will be had about that when she comes out of her meltdown and can stop being passive aggressive about it and talk properly about it. Words will be had. But yes, so the main point really though about it all is not really to complain about that, is to acknowledge that there are a lot of people, and I had my friend Andrew, we had a good talk about this the other night. There are a lot of people, the long-term effects of these lockdowns, the mental health issues that are happening, and I think it's really important to have that discussion. And even though we have to be aware of other people's mental health issues, but we also have to say, well, actually, my mental health issue is that I need to see my daughter and I need to see my partner, and my mental health will suffer if I can't. So, you know, it's difficult. It's difficult for everybody, really. Everyone's in the same boat. Okay. Getting my little window frame here. And it's not easy. It's not easy for anybody. I think I've come over too far. I don't really want that little bit of white showing there, and I think I want to try and keep it the same distance. So I've got a bit out of whack there. Let's pull that apart. And so my next door neighbour they went back to Tasmania because her mum and dad have been looking after her because the husband nicked off to New Zealand, and he just got halfway through her cancer treatment and just had his own mental health issues. See, this is the thing, isn't it? Everyone would say he's been well, let's not say, but he also hit massive depression and just had trouble dealing with seeing his wife decline. And so her parents came here for ages, but now they're all back in Tasmania looking after her there. And they've just said that, well, because of lockdown, they're just going to have to stay in Tassie for her last bits of treatment and to have her MRI. So she's staying longer. They were coming back in a couple of weeks, but she's staying longer because they just can't risk her coming back with the way the numbers are. And they're all in my local area. They're not anywhere else. They're all in my local area. So, you know, if she comes back, it's a bit difficult for her. Anyway, I feel like I'm having a bit of a whinge, but I'm really kind of just, I guess, now that I'm sort of locked down and haven't been able to see my daughter or my boyfriend, I'm just painting my deck. It's like, oh, who am I talking to? Who have I got to talk to? Okay, I'll talk to you lot. Thank you for listening. Oh, anyway, so I've been minding their house a little bit, watering their plants and stuff, and that's going okay. And as my boyfriend came and started the back deck for me, I was able to at least finish it by doing the last bits of painting, because that's not too hard. It's more the heavy duty you know, like the machine, like the, what do you call it, the pressure hose and stuff like that, or sanding and that. Can't do it, it hurts my hands too much. But I did paint it. I've painted 2 lots, and that's pretty good. I'm happy about that. So that's where we are. COVID lockdown. Doesn't matter if it's not perfectly square, honestly. That's the beauty of the hand stitching, isn't it? So I think I've just covered about 5 topics, having a rant, but the interesting thing, my brother and his wife love going to Japan, and I might have already talked about that once, and they've written many books. So I had a little chat to him about the wording, the use of the ancient material and sewing it all together, and so borrow, or just borrow, B-O-R-O, is that sort of using old objects to, you know, like we do with our journals, really, and our embroidery. They use old bits of material from family members to sew into new garments or new coats or new... I was reading about the bit of material that they use as a sewn of all the ancestors' bits of clothes to give birth onto, so that the child has is greeted basically by the ancestors. So that's what I was studying this morning, and I was fascinated, really fascinated by that. All right, better finish this window. But of course I can ask my brother things because he loves that stuff. And he was talking about kitsugi, which is that one, the art of fixing something that's broken with gold, because of the history of it. And I was thinking how we don't have, you know, we just, sometimes we're really poor in culture. Like, just say, take Australia for instance, and I do talk to Huss a little bit about that, because he's quite aware, you know, we're all immigrants to Australia, only for 200 years. It's such a young country in many respects. And I came from England, and then when I was, I came in the 64, and my parents came over, and Dad had a job. And then in the 70s, the Italians and the Greeks came over, and you know, bought some infrastructure with building and the market gardens and stuff like that. And then I think then the next one we had was the I think the next lot of immigrants possibly were the Vietnamese, although I think Huss says it was the Somalians, which is what he is. So our culture is relatively young in terms of that sort of thing. And so to think of hundreds of generations, well, maybe not hundreds, but generations and generations of people who've handed down bits of clothing to sew into garments is a bit, from my perspective, a little bit, you know, unusual. Because we're part of a throwaway society, really, aren't we? All right, let's get the teacup on. Now, my idea with the teacup is it's sitting on a windowsill behind a window. So I'm going to do the window. So I still don't want it up. I don't want it too high. So what am I going to put it on with? Immigrants, really, especially old country. So even though Australia is a very old country with old people, as immigrants, it's a young country from the immigrant perspective. But we now have many different cultures here, so it's a very big kind of melting pot of cultures over here, I think. I reckon. Alright, so I was watching someone doing some beautiful work. Can't remember her name, but lovely work where she was using Franken stitches to get things down on the background, and I really liked it, so that's what I'm doing here. Maybe I should be using a thinner stitch. Franken stitches maybe could be thinner and a bit more wibbly wobbly. The idea with a Franken stitch, of course, is that someone's just patchworked Frankenstein together, really. But I do believe a lot more thinner stitches would be better. However, I've started it now with 2 strands, and that's what I'm doing. So it's interesting, isn't it? We can we can have all sorts of things happen in one day that end up being part of our video. Yes, so lockdown does change a lot of things. So my friend Leanne, who's a photographer, just did a little video on her. She hasn't done her channel for very long, I don't think, but she is a pretty experienced artist and photographer. And she was talking about how we deal with lockdown as creative people. How do we get around it? How do we still inspire ourselves artistically and creatively? And well, her thought was that if she can't get out and take photos and get out and about, her thought was that she got out all her art school stuff and went through it all and had a look at it, and that inspired her to create new work and make some things, because she realised she had to photograph at home. So she got her old art school stuff out and started a whole new project from it. The good thing about lockdown, that sort of stuff. I might cast this off because it's getting a bit short, and I'll just start a new one. How are we going? Let me look at it. Put these back in. Let's try and work neat for a change. Ho, ho, ho. No, not likely. All right, now I've got a 1 strand and a 3 strand, so I need to keep it uniform and put my 1 strands together. Then I'll just finish with a 2 strand. I'm going to think it doesn't really look so much like a teacup like it should, but I actually know what the story of it is, so that doesn't matter. It's always going to remind me of my little saké bottle and my saké cups, and of what I was studying today. Japanese. The art of recycling. The first recyclers. Well, not necessarily the first, but you know, the care of, well, it came out of poverty to have to keep patching and recycling your clothing. But it is actually quite a beautiful art when you look at a sort of a you know, like they're like those samurai jackets. I forgot what they're called, but when you look at one that's 5,000 years old with all this patching and sewing on it, and you think of the history of all the bits of material that are in it, it's quite astonishing, really. So even though this doesn't look like a cup so much, there's a whole story behind this tag. Whole story of why I got to this place. Alright, there's my cute little cup. And because I was actually also studying a lady who works on textile with windows, I think that's why I'm doing a window. She does a lot of window stuff. Right, let's get the rest of this window. Alright, so I'm going to come across to make the shape of a window. There's a knot. This gold stuff's a bit, it's not shiny, and it's shiny, it's just not smooth. Alright, where's that? How do we get that knot out? There's just a tiny little knot, but here we go. Okay, I'm back. I've added a little fringe there. Done my little window with my little cup behind it, and I thought I would do a little bit more just on the window frame to enhance it just around the outside a little bit. Just going to do a back stitch. Now my little cup, this is the one I also use for gold. I've been thinking about that little vein of gold that fixes old and broken things to make them new again, but with gold. And I've been thinking of putting a little crack in my cup. I think if I put it in the gold of that, it might look like it's on the same dimension. So I have to maybe do it with a strand of this gold looking thread so it looks like it's behind the window. Now I don't know, maybe only 2 strands. There is quite a bit of gold already, isn't it? The background, the window frame, which is actually, I'm just realising that I was matching this little circle here to that thread, but that thread's looking a little bit redder than it was, but it's coming out like, you know, like Chinese joss paper has kind of got all the gold and the red on it. Let's see if I can manage this, a little vein of gold crack through it. I'll do stem stitch. I'm trying to get it just into the material, not the actual batting. Let's see, is it looking like there's a little crack that's been mended? Maybe? Maybe it needs to have a little branch off to the side a bit. I think it doesn't show up as much as it would if it was the gold with the light hitting it, but I think it's all right. I know what it means. That's what I've been saying the whole time, haven't I? It's easy to overlook things if they don't look immediately like you want them to, or immediately beautiful, or anything like that. I think I think I'm happy with the simplicity of it today. It doesn't necessarily always need to be overly done and over decorated. And I've got the beautiful magnolia card behind it, which might not be the right one to have behind it actually. Here's my remaining ones that I've got. See that? Well, that's a little bit plain. That's nice, isn't it? Alright, so I sort of put them in order so I didn't have any kind of doubling up very quickly. Maybe just something like that. Doesn't stand out as much, does it? Alright, let's go through. No. I don't know, I don't mind that. Let me put the contenders there. I think I'm liking, I think that because I'm going for simplicity, any of this busyness around it is kind of detracting from the card, I think, from the tag I mean. I still like that, and I probably had that in mind when I was choosing any colours that it would blend in. But I think I also like this linen look one too. Right, so I think I'm going to stop looking and choose between these two. Yeah, I think when you've started doing it one way, you've chosen colours to blend in, and then if you try to put it on here, I think the tag stands out more on that background and is harmonious with that background. But I think the idea is if it's a simple tag today, it just needs to stand out. It's the vein of gold. Alright, here we are. My little tag 34 with a little sake cup with some kitsugi, which is the art of putting in mending a break, with gold, or sometimes they use silver, or pewter maybe even. But here we go. That's it for this week, and thanks for watching. Lots of love to everyone. Hope everyone is safe and well, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.